Well, good evening, everyone. Yes, it is round 12 of the Trackstars TS3 Touring Cars Championship. Obviously, on the screen it says round 11, but we are on round 12, the final round before we consider any implications to the championship this year in 2023, where we will take everyone's worst two rounds, subtracted from their grand total at the end of this race, or at the end of this round, rather, before we get ourselves a final total before we get to the finale at St. Croix C in 2 weeks' time. So we're very excited to bring that coverage to you in 2 weeks' time. But for now, we are here live for the Honshu Sprint at Suzuka Circuit. A very, very technical track here. Very hard to get any overtakes done here. So pole position, getting yourself up towards the front row is key for our drivers tonight. All of our 12 drivers. Actually, we have 11, so we are missing one of them, unfortunately. He did mark his attendance, but unfortunately we have not been able to see him tonight. So whether Barrington shows up at the start, before the start of race 1 or in race 2, we'll find out very soon. But it is time for qualifying. We are almost a minute into the session as these guys are getting ready just to get themselves familiar with the track. They've done a lot of practice, and our practice for these guys is, you could say, plenty of track time that they get here. The wind conditions, track conditions have stayed the same since practice going to qualifying. So will benefit in a way of getting familiar already with the car conditions, track conditions, tyre temperatures. It's all key with these 2008 Lexus, with these 2008 GT500s, with the Lexus SC430, piloted by Tony Griffin, who is leading the charge on track at the moment. And then right behind is Adam Walker in P2 and Jeff Brun, the championship leader, in position 3. So before we get into our first laps, I would like to introduce our co-commentator who'll be coming in once in a while, and obviously he gets to enjoy himself watching the main series boys, but as well he gets to enjoy himself watching Division 3 in Trackstars Touring Cars. It is of course the 4 times Touring Cars champion in Jarmondale. It's welcome and good evening.
Yeah, well, thanks, Spud. Good to have you. Well, good to be joining you here tonight, and of course, not quite the familiar voice in the TS3 coverage that you're used to. Obviously, Ryan not able to be with us tonight, but certainly glad to be joining everyone here tonight and bringing you some excellent coverage of TS3 racing here at Suzuka, as it looks like it should be a really cracking night of racing.
Yeah, and as you say that, we do miss our fellow commentator, broadcaster in Ryan Palmer, who's actually at Bathurst himself doing the challenge Bathurst with the TCR Australia and Trackstars Touring Cars Championship at Tokyo. But here we are. It is the end of coming up towards the end of everyone's first hot lap in. So, I mean, we'll throw it over to you, Jarman. Obviously, Suzuka is a very technical track around here. It's a 5.8 kilometre circuit, a lot of windy sections, a lot of fast-flowing corners. Really just trying to keep the momentum off the car. So, at the end of the first lap, what would you be putting yourself through? What mindset would you have? Would you have a mindset where you would go for a push lap straight away and just push until the end of 10 minutes, or will you set yourself a banker lap that you can target at the end of the session?
I'd probably say, I'd probably go a bit more conservative for that first lap. Just get something on the board at least, and then from there sort of see where you're sitting, and then try and push a bit harder and try and find those few extra tenths that you possibly need throughout the rest of the lap. As we see Robinson just go to the top of the time charts there, and he's running side by side there with Ruzzy. I'm assuming that's Rushton in that car that's sitting in 8th place?
Yes, correct. Wade Rushton.
Awesome. So yeah, Robinson.
Yep, so that's the newest driver in the TS3 Touring Cars field. So Robbo's doing a very good job. He had a very strong performance last time out at Suzuka, a couple of P3s and a very clean round for Richard Robinson. Unfortunately for him, he got he had a very unfortunate Grant Valley sprint a couple of weeks ago where he did take pole position in race 1, but then unfortunately for him, he didn't make the best of the, didn't capitalize on the opportunity, and unfortunately just spun himself out on the opening lap and dropping from first place down to 11th at the end of it, and just working his way up through the field. So it was a round to forget, but at Fuji, in these cars, he loves that combination of Fuji and the GT500s, and 2 third places was the best that he could do. The second place man as well at the time, Steve Smith from Black Rose Racing. He put on a very, very solid performance. Pretty much like, I would say pretty much an underdog performance, because throughout the whole event itself, we weren't really considering Steve Smith appearance of being up into P2 in both races. We were actually looking towards the likes of Tony Griffin, Ryan Carter, Brad James as well. We're looking more towards those guys, as we see Jeff Brun straight away bang with a 1:51.3 as the fastest lap time. But then close behind there is the man that we were just talking about, Steve Smith. He's come from absolutely out of nowhere, putting in some very good lap times so far in qualifying, and really surprised us at Fuji. I think definitely it was a man of the match performance at Fuji for Smith, and really came out of nowhere and put in some solid performances for Black Rose Racing, as we see. So as I was saying, like what I was trying to say was that with Black Rose Racing, they've really been putting their name through in the Trackstars TS3 touring cars. Potentially next year, in 2024, we might see a couple of TS2 performances from some of their star drivers, like Smith himself, as well as Adam Walker, who's a little bit down the order there, running in P8, so obviously hasn't set a really competitive lap time here. As we see Mark Hasseldine for Hassel 1 Automotive come through into 9th place. So far, so good. So far, it is going to the likes of Smith, currently just faster than Jeff Brun, the championship leader. Richard Robertson holding on to P3, Ryan Carter in 4th, and Bandit rounding up top 5 so far. Steady picking amongst the drivers here, amongst the field here. We'll have to keep an eye on our key contenders, Tony Griffin, Adam Walker, as we see on screen right now. He's gone green, but not a fastest lap here, and the wind conditions are, you could say, somewhat different. Obviously, we have that tailwind going at the end of Degner 2, but it is a crosswind going through 130R, so drivers will be tentative if they're going to go flat through 130R. And as we say that, Walker's come through with a very stonking lap time there. We see Jeff Brun go deep through Casio Triangle, so that's his lap ruined. And the faster lap times are coming through now with both Black Rose Racing Team up towards P1 and P2. Ryan Carter promoted himself up into 3rd place with a 1:51.8. So we're seeing some quick lap times here so far, but I think one man we're not really seeing lap times at the moment is Tony Griffin. He's down in 8th place and one of the key contenders in this championship, alongside his teammate in Ryan Carter, who's up in 3rd place at the moment. So we're going to look through towards the field here. So Ryan Carter's coming through the end of Degner 2. So this is where the tailwind's going to come in. So coming into the hairpin, it's very easy to outbrake yourself, but there are some different lines to go through that hairpin. You can brake a little bit earlier, just take the narrow line, but you do have to wait to get on the throttle because it does take a very long time. Or you run a little bit deeper, run the high line, and then you get on the power as early as you can and try and get that traction down through the 2nd and 3rd gear sequence. So a couple of drivers, you'll be seeing some different lines throughout the race, especially throughout the race. You'll see some drivers looking to go for an inside move, but whether it's actually an inside move they're taking or that's just their racing line. But then you see some cars going a little bit wider, just trying to open up the exit, or trying to open up the entry rather, to get on the power as early as they can. But Carter 2/10 down on his personal best lap time there, and not too far off pace as well. He's 0.2 behind Adam Walker's last one in 1:51.5. He actually backed it up with a 1:51.6. So the consistency for Black Rose Racing so far with 1st and 2nd is looking really promising. As we look down the order, we're going to be looking out towards Jeff Brun. He's only got 10 seconds to go until he gets himself into the flying lap. He's got one more chance to get himself up towards the front. So we'll stick with him very shortly. But on the broadcast, we have our fellow admin in Richard Robson, getting all the love that he can on the stream, sitting in P5 at the moment. But here is Jeff Brun. Let's see if we can go on board with the man, the championship leader in the car 18 of the Steel City Mash Spuds Racing Lexus SC430. Going through the SEC, he's following one of the WTC boys here. He's only just down on his personal best there. He needs to find 0.3 of a second to close up to Walker and Smith, who are, in theory, are not really contenders in this championship. So they're just going for pride here and Black Rose Racing pride to get them a victory. They're actually yet to take a victory in the Trackstars TS3 Touring Cars Championship, so could potentially be the day for Black Rose Racing. But Jeff Brun is 0.1 personal best there, so you can see Tony Griffin ahead of him, really struggling to get the car working for it, but he's kind of helping Brun in a way to give him that slipstream that he needs, especially when it comes down to the back straight. We'll see what happens here. Just runs it onto the grass there, runs it a little bit deep there. Second part of Spoon Curve onto the back straight, so you can see that he lost a lot of time to Tony Griffin there, so I don't think this could help him with his lap times as he comes through to the end of Sector 3. Let's wait and see what it does for him. It's definitely going to drop him down. It doesn't actually register. There we go, 0.3. So yeah, that costly mistake at the end of going into the entry of Spoon really compromised him, unfortunately, as we see Carter go up into P2. So very nice lap there for Ryan Carter. Jeff Brun's only P4 in the end there, 0.5 away from Walker, and Walker did actually improve on his lap time there, 1 minute 51.4. So advantage goes to Black Rose Racing. So currently on provisional pole position